Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Empowered in Health. I'm so excited you're here as always to kind of talk about so many different things related to women's health. I'm going to be really vulnerable today and kind of dive into the reality of the season I'm in and talk specifically about weight and weight gain, weight loss resistance, and this idea of body change. If I'm honest, this has been something that I have struggled with in some capacity for most of my life. You know, I grew up an athlete. I was primarily a swimmer, but also played lacrosse, soccer, and a handful of other things. And I really always had this focus on my body, right? My body needed to look lean, or I wanted it to look lean. I wanted to be skinny. I wanted to be smaller. I wanted to look good in a swimsuit when I was competing. I remember very vividly feeling all this pressure around my body all the time. In high school, I struggled tremendously with body image issues. Even before then, when I was a young kid, I just had a lot of struggle around body, right? I was the chubby kid growing up. I was overweight for a season of my life when I was younger. And then I kind of grew into my body a little bit more. But again, I've always struggled with this sense of positivity around my body and overthinking about my body and feeling like my body needed to look a certain way. And if I'm unpacking all of that and thinking back to that season of my life and then kind of looking at where I'm at now, I've talked about this a little bit on other podcast episodes, but I'm very much having those really intense feelings from my past cropping up right now in this season of life I'm in. And while I know so much better now because I'm older, I'm wiser, I've gone through a whole lot in my life, I know that health is so much more than what your physical body is. I still have moments when I struggle with body image. And I still have moments right now where this idea of how my body looks becomes really overwhelming and defeating for me. I struggle with body change. I struggle with this idea of gaining weight. And for me right now, I have gained weight and I'm at this place where I'm trying to figure out what does that weight gain really look like? Is it muscle gain? Is it fat gain? Is it visceral fat? Is it subcutaneous fat? Those are very different things. And they can mean very different things for your metabolic health and your health overall. And while I dive into more support with unpacking that, I'm still trying to really understand, okay, how do I make sense of embracing this season and doing the best that I can? I talk to women all the time who have this same struggle. They struggle with body image. They struggle with body changes. They struggle with this idea of weight gain. And for me, I've had to really get honest about my particular habits and think harder about what are the things that I should maybe be looking at or paying attention to, or what are the things that I maybe need to adjust or back off of, or what are the things that I need to, potentially get more support and resources around. One of the things that I've been particularly looking at most is my nutrition, right? My nutrition has always been a pain point for me personally in my wellness journey. And getting honest about your nutrition is not really the easiest thing. It can be so uncomfortable to really get honest about what do your day-to-day habits look like? What are you actually consuming? How much of it is processed? How much of it is added sugar? How much of it is not really serving your body from the inside out? Getting honest in that way about nutrition is uncomfortable, but a necessary process when it comes to evaluating habits. The second thing for me is evaluating my day-to-day movement, right? My NEAT, which is basically your non-exercise activity. Whatever you're doing that's beyond exercise throughout the day, whether that's walking around, taking care of the kids, doing household chores, walking around an office, whatever that might be. Anything that you're doing throughout the day adds up for your overall activity level, right? And what I've learned over time is as I've grown older, but also being in a cold climate, I have seasons where I don't move as often during the day, right? I'm great about getting a workout in. I'm great about sticking to, the basic habits of what I know help me feel good. But then as far as my day-to-day movement and continuing to move throughout the day, that's something I've had to really actively practice and pay attention to. So some of the things that I've been doing lately to kind of increase my NEAT and paying attention to that is, moving more, just moving more around my house, whether that's intentionally going from one chore to the next chore and getting myself moving more around my house, We also got a treadmill, which has been tremendously helpful, right? So if I have calls or if I have meetings or if I'm just sitting around in the afternoon and my kids are watching a show or doing an activity, I'll get on the treadmill and try to get a little bit more movement in, right? I'll try to get outside at least once a day. That's crucial not only for my physical health and increasing my NEAT, but also for my mental and emotional well-being. Like getting outside, getting fresh air, getting sunshine is huge for overall wellness. And so that's been something that I've been focusing on too. But all of this to say, these two pieces are what I'm looking at most right now when it comes to this sense of weight gain and weight loss resistance that I've been experiencing. You know, I shared this on other podcasts, but I have gained 20 pounds over the past year or so, right? So last February, I was at a place where I was kind of starting my gut health protocol and diving into my gut health protocol. And then by November, I had gained 20 pounds. And so I'm just in this place again, where I'm evaluating what are my habits? Where do I need to be looking into more support? Where do I need to get more honest? Where do I need to give myself grace? What do I need to be backing out of? You know, one of the things that's been really challenging for me and really hard for me, especially as a health and wellness coach, is I have had supplements and routines and things that I have absolutely loved and adored that I've been leaning into for years. And when I really unpack where I'm at right now, those things do not work anymore with my body. I don't know why. I can't give you an explanation. For whatever reason, my body does not agree with the supplements that I used to take and some of the programs that I used to follow. It's just too much for my body. It's way too much stress. It causes a lot of added anxiety inside my body. And for whatever reason, it's just not quite the right fit. And that's been a really hard realization. And I've had to really unpack exactly, again, what do I need to do now that what I was once doing is no longer working for me? You know, sometimes it's hard to come onto the podcast and share, you know, more of my vulnerable heart and talk about like, what does my season of life really continue to feel like and look like right now? What does wellness continue to feel like and look like right now? You know, why is it such a challenge? And if I'm honest, I don't know why. I don't know why yet. You know, that's why I'm working closely with doctors. That's why I'm working closely with coaches. That's why I'm working closely with people that I know have gone through this process before. I'm trying to get more educated about the perimenopausal transition and things that I can start to do now in order to proactively help my body prepare for menopause and further into midlife and the second half of my life, right? But it is overwhelming and hard. And I think the thing that's most overwhelming and hard for me right now is this sense of weight gain, and I don't know why. You know, weight gain for me, it's not necessarily about like the size of the clothing or the number on the scale or anything like that, right? It's so much more about the feeling, right? The feeling in my body. And when I feel like weighed down and I feel really puffy and I feel really unlike myself, that's when it becomes alarming for me, right? And this whole idea of weight gain and having such a problem with actually creating body composition change and losing weight has me most focused on my metabolic health, right? Why is my body metabolically struggling somehow? Why am I not able to connect the dots? You know, if I'm focusing on nutrition and movement and exercise, you know, what are the things that I need to also be paying attention to? My mental and emotional well-being, my sleep, all of those things. But it is really hard sometimes to think through like, okay, if I'm doing the things and it's still not adding up, what's the missing link, right? What else do I need to learn? Who else do I need to talk to? How else can I get educated? And that's the season I continue to be in. You know, I've made a little progress here and there. I've made some strides forward and then I've made some strides backwards. You know, and it's just something that I want to be transparent about because I think so many women just sit in this headspace of thinking that they're the only one, that this is just how it's supposed to be, that feeling like crap once you get to a certain age is just what's meant for us. And I'm not someone who's going to sit here and say that that's what's meant for us. I don't believe that. In my heart, in my soul, in the core of who I am, when it comes to healthy living and really feeling good and strong in our bodies, I do not believe that that is really what's meant for us. I have no doubt that I will figure out exactly what my body needs, and I'll be able to unpack the different layers of this and get to a place where I feel really strong and good in my body again. But right now I'm not there. That's just my truth. I'm not there right now. And as I said, like my biggest awakening has come from really having to embrace this idea of what I was once doing does not work anymore. Like literally my body rejects the supplements I used to take. Like they don't sit well with my stomach anymore. They make me feel super anxious and not great, right? And then the programs and the workouts and the things that I was also doing do not help me feel good either, right? They add more stress. They make me feel run down. Like I reached a point where I was leaving my workouts feeling completely defeated, right? No level of energizing feeling, no level like of endorphin rush. And for me, like, again, huge sign that I needed to dig into my cortisol, my stress, what was actually happening with my physiology. And every single day, I feel like I'm slowly pulling back this onion and the layers of the onion. But again, this idea of weight gain, weight loss resistance, managing this season of getting into my 40s and getting into midlife, getting closer to menopause, all of that, like it's a very real transition. And each of us will experience it in a different way. For me, right now, my biggest hurdle is my energy and my metabolic health, right? Why do I feel so different every single day? And why do I seem to be missing pieces when it comes to what my body needs in order to really feel energized and thriving? I'm just not there yet. So I just wanted to be honest about that today. I wanted to share more of my heart around this, and I wanted to be someone who shares about, like, listen, if you're someone who, you know, you care about health, you care about habits, you care about really thriving in your day-to-day, feeling energized, feeling good, you're putting in the work, you're, you know, enlisting coach help and support, and you're trying to find a way to take care of yourself, like, I'm with you in that, right? I'm also very much with you in that. And if you're feeling like you're doing the things, but you're not quite exactly where you want to be, me too. Like, I get it. As I shared over on my social media this week, you know, I think the biggest thing to understand is even in this season where it can feel confusing and defeating, even in this season when it can feel overwhelming and it can feel this, it can just feel like absolutely debilitating, right? We get to choose, right? We get to choose where we spend our most time and energy when it comes to thoughts, when it comes to actions. And so for me, yes, this is a pain point for me right now. This is a huge pain point for me in my life. And I know it's a huge pain point for many other women who are struggling to understand their body, understand and unpack why they've suddenly gained weight, you know, understanding why the habits that they once were putting into practice aren't working anymore, understanding why they mentally and emotionally feel completely unglued, that stress feels more overwhelming, you know, so many different things. Women who are trying to understand this transition in this phase, right? Women who want to know that they're not the only one. And that's why I want to keep sharing my story and being real and raw and honest, because this is my reality. This is how my body, my mind, my spirit, who I am, where I'm at, is experiencing this life transition. And instead of choosing to lean into defeat and exhaustion and feeling completely paralyzed, I'm leaning into curiosity as much as I possibly can. I'm leaning into more education from experts who know why our bodies go through this and what we need to learn and how we need to learn it and what we can change in order to help ourselves thrive, right? I'm enlisting resources and support from people who are educated, well educated on how do you actually navigate hormonal fluctuations and how do you actually navigate this season of midlife. This is brand new for me. I've never been in midlife before, right? I've never been 41 before. Here I am. And I think the more women can talk about and normalize that this is a process and a life transition that we go through, but that there are hope and answers, the more we can all get to this place of figuring out what do we need and how do we put into practice in order to feel our best, even in this season, even into our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, throughout our life. Like my goal, my number one goal is feeling healthy, strong, fulfilled, energized in my life. Like that is what I want for my life, so I can show up for my family, for my kids, for the people that I serve in the best way that I know how. I know that I need that level of energy and feeling in order to continue to show up in my life the way I'm being called to show up. Now, all of that is going to come with adversity and steps back. And that's the season I'm in. I'm in a season of major adversity. I'm in a season of having to really learn and unlearn, get educated, all of these things. But I want to share through my learning because I feel like there's power in sharing through the learning, right? Sure, I could probably share with you 5 years from now or 3 years from now or 2 months from now or whenever it is that I feel like I'm finally turning a corner and fully on the path to getting to a place where I feel like myself again. But I'm not sure that would serve you in the same way, right? I want to share that I'm in it with you and also navigating this season right alongside you. And so please know, above all, like I always share, you are not alone. You are not the only one. I am going to continue to share my story and my journey because I know that women need to hear this. I know women need to have this narrative normalized. I know that women all over the world struggle in this season in some capacity, right? My pain might not be your pain. My struggle is likely not your struggle. None of us walk the exact same path, but there are inevitably parallels and inevitably things we can learn from each other and inevitably things we should share in order to really help empower ourselves on our health and wellness journey. As always, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so incredibly grateful for you. See you in the next one.